We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and fund our work
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
We are Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
Enjoying the show? Show your support for the live stream and the people making the show. Buy a super chat or super sticker on YouTube directly. Select your donation and type your message to the world. And share. All donations go into directly funding new shows. Buy a super sticker or super chat now. Thank you.
The ultimate things in life are free, and we're keeping it that way. Subscribe to keep up with the latest games, tournaments, and community content. Share it with your team and friends, and drop a like to help spread Ultimate to more people. Spread the word, spread the love. ULTI.TV.
We believe mixed is the best for the sport, for the world. That's why we're making a global showcase, starting in Europe, made in Amsterdam. ULTI League. ULTILeague.net.
Help us go electric, become a member.
All right. A little something special for the WGGMBUCC. It's a lyrical sculpture in the sand that I carve. This is Flash on the mic, now on the Algarve. From 40 to 60, we are on the attack. If I can just get some vitamin I from my back. Foot on the line, yeah, I'm ready to go. Or did I just pull a muscle? Hold on for a moment. Play it cool, just act like I'm young. Got flicks on my wrist and lyrics on my tongue. 10 more years left to go. Tricks from the past and a buttery flow. A little slow off the start, I like to call my speed brisk. The sunshine glints off my slow-moving disc. You know how it goes with the sand between my toes. I got none of the pivots, but all the throws. Yeah, I got some dodgy knees. Disc in my hand and the sun in the sky. My dad bod goes jiggle and my hugs they fly. The spirits are rising like a disc on the breeze, going miles out of bounds to the Portuguese seas. I played a point, yeah, I need a sub and a good long soak in an XL tub. Don't need to run anymore, I'm one of 14 handlers. Happy Gilmore this disc like we're all Adam Sandlers. I'm slow off the start, I like to call it brisk. The sunshine glints on my slow-moving disc. You know how it goes with the sand between my toes. We got none of the pivots, but all the throws. Alright, let's finish this off. My 6'2" still works in the bar. I can see from miles. Got drinks on my radar. Portimão party is the place we flee for the friends we see and these great memories. Yeah, I feel the spirit as I pull every sinew. Shatter my knees, yet we're gonna continue. Take this hand, better yet carry me from the beach to the bar, better yet to the sea. I'm slow off the start. I like to call my speed brisk. The sunshine glints off my slow-moving disc. You know how it goes with the sand between our toes. We got none of the pivots, but all of the throws.
Welcome back to the sand. It's the World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Club Championships 2022 in Portimão, Portugal, and the sand has taken a solid drizzling from the sky above. It's a cloudy, overcast day here today. It's blustery and breezy, 23, 25 km/h winds. But of course, when you're a veteran of this flying disc sport, that's nothing to contend with. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, in the booth with Benji Rees as we survey a showdown between two USA teams, Man Down versus Tragic Hips. And what are we expecting, Benji?
Some exciting Great Grandmasters Ultimate. Both of these teams having mixed fortunes this morning. I'll tell you how their first games went at the next available break in play.
Indeed, we're going to have Man Down starting down on offense with the white jerseys. High release over the top of the mark as we get underway. So, surveying the field is Paul Scheisse, or Scheisse. Giving and going. Looked almost like a zony style of defense from Hips. They've got a much shorter roster, so conserving energy is going to be key in this match. But a foul call potentially in the center of the field.
Maybe a bit of a push off there on Leanne Noonan against Marianne Clark.
Well, still early days, and Man Down having plenty of flow, keeping the disc moving. Nice inside low break across to Schaff. Looks around for the reset. Doesn't like the look of it, doesn't look at it for very long particularly, and Patrick van der Valk is going to get a D for Tragic Hips. Can they make anything of it? Completely static handlers behind. De Silva pops back to van der Valk. Hip did unfortunately lose a few potential teammates to COVID illnesses, so they're missing a couple from their roster. Just 11 strong here at this tournament. Van der Valk surveys. Slices one through towards the end zone and gets the goal. It's a first break for Tragic Hips off the paws of Mr. Bula himself.
That is a filthy little break there from Patrick. I love that, getting the turn and then with that high block as well, and then you could see him kind of crane over, not necessarily utilising the full length of the pivot, but sneaking it through that beautiful inside-out channel into the end zone for the score. That's a strong start there for the Tragic Hips.
Well, we already mentioned it in that point, Benji. These two have very different levels of personnel. So if Tragic Hips can break with that level of speed and that level of just dynamic throwing, then that could work out well in their favour.
Elliot De Silva with the score. Nice start for the Tragic Hips. These sides having different fortunes in their first game out. A strong win for Man Down, 13-2 over Flash of Great Britain. And for Tragic Hips, not quite so good. 8-13 they went down to Luget from France.
Well, one under the belt each. This, of course, their second game of the tournament and the day. It's two games a day, which is quite a nice leisurely pace to play Ultimate, as we see a little bit of a tipple off the arm of the mark, but cannot do just enough to stop the momentum downfield for Man Down. Cashin pops back to Noonan. Oh, a nice high biscuit over the top. Apologies, that was Grant Cashin, a Cashin connection, and then Grant grabs himself an assist, and that's a hold for Man Down, so it's one apiece.
Yeah, Grant's able to cash in on the good pressure going on downfield, just moving it nicely and then outside the end zone, staying calm, not getting flustered at all, which, you know, probably goes with the territory. They've certainly seen and done it all before, but staying patient. And you see, there's our production booth. Anyone have the heart to tell them that the score's 1-1 and not 2-0?
Well, we did mention it briefly, but, you know, they're just getting so involved in the atmosphere here. We've got some sort of weird blow-up skeleton action going on right in front of our booth, so maybe we can bring you a little bit of a view of that at some point. Don't know which side it... Actually, no, I know exactly which side it's supporting. It's wearing a Tragic Hips jersey.
I may be representing some of the teammates who were not able to make it, although that is a slightly morose way of looking at it, I guess.
Possibly, but you know, we'll have to get a good look at the hip bones of the inflatable skeleton on the sideline as Tragic Hips go out on defense and try and snag that initial break back. Van der Valk with a high dish across to Katz. Looking for his teammate again for the reset. Going towards the end zone. Can Patrick van der Valk open up his hips? No, he can't. They're far too tragically clogged. And the disc is going to sail out the back of the end zone off an adventurous high stall release.
Yeah, I think what Katz initially wanted was to swing it back to Patrick van der Valk in the centre. But van der Valk was looking right the way downfield. And Katz kind of looked a bit bemused as to why he wasn't aware for the quick pickup. Because van der Valk's usually kind of... He's prone to the give and go.
Well, opportunity for man down to put us back on serve. Saw them yesterday grabbing some gelato from one of the local establishments here on the strip in Portimão.
What flavour did you go for?
I went for pirate flavour. It's stracciatella with a little bit of raspberry rippled in there.
Ooh, nice. I went for Oreo. I'm very basic.
Well, they were also enjoying the Oreo as well, this American side. As we see it, expansive pass sailing past the arms of Kevin Reardon. Could not quite connect. Says he's a solar astrophysicist, but that one's a bit too far into space. So van der Valk picking up again on offense, calling around for Katz. This is a good swing across to Marianne Clark. Easy window open and a front corner goal. And De Silva collects a second score for Tragic Hips. They maintain their lead.
Yeah, Elliot De Silva is someone they will look to as a goal scoring option. As we've seen already, 2 goals, got an assist in the first game as well. Another keeper we haven't seen necessarily too much of this game yet for Tragic Hips is Wolfmaker, who got an assist and 4 goals in that first game. So as this contest ticks on, expect him to be someone that they look to. There's not a huge window there down the sideline, but the throw goes out early enough that despite the bidding, Reardon able to sneak that one in there, and it makes it 2-1 to Tragic Hips.
And the inflatable skeleton giving a little bit of a boogie there in celebration. Wolfmaker is, if you can see it, he's dyed his hair a rather fetching turquoisey, tealy blue, but unfortunately the downpour just ahead of this game, which is making the sand nice and damp underfoot, ended up mostly on his face, a la Braveheart sort of style.
Yeah, I must admit, a little bit of rain on the beach is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it just firms up the sand slightly, makes it a bit easier to get some purchase on, and it has turned it a lovely golden colour.
Indeed, it's almost like we're baking a cake, although I'm not sure it would be particularly tasty. As man down now look to punch in this next piece of offense. Russ Fur with the disc. Swings across. Noonan with a nice big backhand low break. One straight into the clutches of Scheisse. Or Scheisse. That Germanic spelling, who knows? Oh, a high one over the top for the 0-0 into the clutches of Russ Fur. He started us off, and that's a clean and simple one for man down.
I think the Noonans are wearing between them 0 and 00, which I must admit is a strong thematic look. That one, nice little high release backhand. I find especially on beach, if you can get those lead passes accurately, just put a little bit of weight on them, not too much, just feather it out there for someone to run onto. They can be so devastating. This one, looking for options, and a little bit of traffic there. How can I access that space? Well, I'll pop it over the top, and it works a treat as Fur catches to make it 2 apiece.
Yeah, a little bit clustery, but they managed to pop it through as our graphics go wild, bringing you the stats of this game. So we're level. Tragic Hips up that one early sneaky break, but is it going to be a case of numbers and fresher legs towards the end of this game? These, of course, will be played to a full 45 minutes. There's a timed half at 25 minutes or at a score cap of 7. In the centre of the field, Katz lays out, but that doesn't connect. Short. Good opportunity now for man down. Swing across to the far sideline, bish, bash, bosh, and falling into the sand, being eaten up, almost like it's quicksand. That's a nice goal for Cashin.
That is brilliantly done, because falling over, you think, oh, I'll give this up as dead, but absolutely not. Cashin stays with the play and gets her just rewards for it. Frazier down the sideline for the victory. Cashin's got a lot of Worlds experience.
Indeed, she was appeared at the Masters Grass Championships, just the Masters division, playing with the young'uns for Les Culottes.
Yeah, and one as you know, tasted gold as well on the sand as part of Molly Blue, won the Women's Grandmasters Championships stateside.
And hello to the Cashin family. The clan are watching back home. Their little ones are indeed watching through. I believe the Cashins had a little bit of a pause in their ultimate playing careers in order to, you know, have the next generation of athletes replicate themselves, and they are two very talented individuals.
Well, it's what I love is, you know, career highlight. When you have a long storied career like the two of them have, you know, you could think maybe it's, you know, representing winning nationals or whatever. For Grant, he says it's cleating it up with his kids and winning Summer League, which is, you know, really sweet. It's almost enough to make you want to start a family. I say emphasis very much there on almost for me.
Well, it's Hips with the disc right now, trying to attack towards the end zone. Oh, nearly a touch there. Lacrosse is going to boom it deep, though, over the head of the defense, and hits Wolf Makeup for the goal.
Did say that Wolf Makeup was going to be a key scoring option for the Tragic Hips, and it proves there, getting it over the top. Steve Lacrosse, how can you tell someone you're from Indianapolis without explicitly saying you're from Indianapolis? Sporting hero Reggie Miller.
Because.
I mean, right? If you're from Indy, that's just how things work.
And for the non-sporting fans, Benji, please elucidate who is Reggie Miller and what sport does he play?
Long-time basketball player for the Indiana Pacers, one of their standout players when they got to the NBA Finals in the late 90s. I want to say 98, but I can't remember exactly when. They didn't get over the top in the end, but got mighty close. Once scored, was it 9 points in 8 seconds to come from behind in a playoff game, something like that. One of those kind of great players in small markets.
Well, it's man down with possession. They managed to sneak back that break to put us on serve. As they channel towards the end, and Noonan passes it off. Oh, and that's a good little bit of flow. And just about jumps it in, does Matt Schaff for the next goal. The man from Anaheim, California originally, currently residing in Huntington Beach.
He gave us a very handy pronunciation guide of it's like, well, presumably shaft, but without the T. Obviously, it's not quite so handy because I am a terrible posho, and I'd say it's shaft. So it doesn't quite work as well.
But shaft.
But
you have to say it with an American accent.
I feel like a fraud if I say shaft. I'm nowhere near down to earth or northern enough for it.
See, I'm the hybrid fusion baby of a northerner and a southerner, so I can get away with occasionally saying shaft.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But can you dig it?
Doesn't sound so weird for you as it does for me. Anyway, Schaff jumps it into the end zone there. As you mentioned, yeah, been out of California. Huntington Beach is going to be the venue for Beach Worlds next October, I think. I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but hopefully, I think the plan is to have maybe we'll see the Masters divisions at the World Beach Ultimate Championships next year, and it'll be interesting to see how many of these players will try and suit up for those championships.
Well, and talking of, we have had some shout-outs to other athletes' children, and Schaff says to say hello to his beautiful wife, Katie, who's at home with his 2 boys who are in high school and college, Mason and Owen. So hello to all the Schaff family.
Also, he's got one of the best interesting facts ever, but we'll have to wait for him to score again for that to come up.
Tantalise us, why don't you, Benji? So, looking around for options is Steve Lacrosse. He throws the hammer over the top. That's easy pickings for the defense. And a lightning fast score. I didn't even see the disc move there, Benji.
Neither did I, but that's partly because the sideline was so involved that I couldn't quite see over the top of them.
And there are rather a few, so we're going to have to catch the names on the highlights there. This pink disc that was chosen for Dubai on its picturesque blazing white sands is a bit harder to spot in the sandy conditions of Portimão.
Let's have a look at it again. Lacrosse he doesn't want the swing there. He's maybe a little bit wary of the defender, but with the stall count rising, tries to go for the hammer over the top. Frazier steams through with the block, and talk about striking while the iron is hot. A little quick pick up and flip into the end zone for the score.
Well, if Noonan is wearing the number one. It possibly could be him. But we'll go with Matt Schaff, I think. We will have to concur with our wonderful scorekeeper volunteers who are doing such great work out here on the sands. But a big pull's going to sit and hang and land out of bounds in the stand. A little dink as it connects there, and Van der Valk will bring that to the brick mark. These tape-lined fields with a lovely brick label on them, so you know exactly where to bring it in.
That was a nice little flourish there.
Indeed. But there is a little bit of a difference in terms of how the brick marks are placed. They're 15 meters away from the back line.
So that is literally a precise third of the way through the central zone. So yeah, a little bit more punishing for not being able to keep the pull in bounds.
An immediate deep shot from Van der Valk is going to save us. Sail over the top of De Silva. And perhaps a bit of a luck there for man down. Cao Wang had been bested in terms of position, but that feisty wind blowing from right to left on your screens, maybe getting a bit of a touch extra. Not really much movement from the downfield, taking the swings across.
Yeah, that's where the hips got into trouble in the last point. They had that swing available and they didn't take it.
Appleyard, up line. Ooh, nice attack underneath from Feinstein. Now this is good, across to Mascot, who taught me yesterday the Yiddish word for bum, which is tushy.
See, I knew that word, but I didn't know it came from Yiddish.
Indeed, apparently it used to be that man's nickname. Well, less is said about that, since that's some information only his father will appreciate. But having the universe brought him to this tournament, can he punch a goal in? No, he's going to have to go for the swing over the top, nice around to Appleyard.
Love utilising the scuba. How can I get this to sit in that space?
Absolutely. This is the level where you expect to see picture-perfect throws. Oh, and a beautiful shot for Feinstein to Appleyard. He takes the lefty grab and throws his body onto the sand and collects the goal.
Yeah, swinging the disc back and forth, it constantly changes the angles of attack. The defenders, you're trying to orbit your matchups downfield so you can kind of always keep an eye on the disc and your position relative to that and the player you're matched up against. But it does eventually create those creases. If you get the disc a long way over to the break side, cutter starts on the open side, they can make that break side cut. And it's not really a shapely inside-out throw. It can just be flat into space because the defender's already on the wrong side. But Appleyard does brilliantly to bring that one in. And another break for man down, who found a little bit of form now, 3 in a row.
Well, for an athlete who started his playing career in 1986, the speed on Ian Appleyard is fascinating. But we briefly mentioned Harris Mascot. He's between jobs at the moment, Benjamin. He was saying that he sort of was sat at home doing nothing and bored, and it was like, well, that's part of the process. And then he gets a call out of the blue. There's two spots on this team called Man Down at the Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Championships. Do you want to come play? Looked at flights, super cheap. So the universe has brought Harris Mascot to this championship, Benji.
And where else would you want to be? It's not like there's any sort of big Frisbee events going on in California this weekend.
No, only chumps go there, I heard.
That's what I heard, yeah.
So another out of bounds pull. As you see, Steve Lacrosse searching for that brick mark on the tape. And he waddles his way into centre field with two very meaty looking sand socks. Hot pressure from the defence cannot prevent Wolf. Maker sends the reset. Expect to not throw more than 10 yards, says Maker. Pin to the sideline, sits in the inside, finds the basket of Clark. Oh, and that's a lovely shot to the break side. Pressure underneath it, but that's well collected high above his head.
Yeah, just trying to get a look at the jersey number of the receiver. We saw there a nice little shall I put my teeth back in? A nice little husband and wife connection. Krista June and Wolf Maker. It's good seeing that. You know, we talk a I don't say we talk a lot about it necessarily, but we have mentioned, you know, on a fair few occasions these players having families back home, but you don't necessarily even need family back home when they're here on the beach with you. Lovely
yes.
break backhand around for the score.
Yeah, it's messing with us a little bit. The shorts numbers and the jersey numbers of Tragic Hips aren't all in alignment. But we saw some amusing things happening at the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships, where one of the teams in the Open division for Great Grandmasters were told to all take off their hats, Benji, because they didn't match, and so they made their opponents take off their hats. I believe that was in one of the Surly games.
I mean, it's nicer when you all have matching hats, but I don't think it's that important.
Indeed not, although we oftentimes see the Japanese national sides wearing extremely matchy-matchy equipment.
And to be fair, it looks really good.
It does. It's very profesh. So another bricked pull of these players, clearly way too powerful in the arm. This Pletcher brings us into play.
How was it described? None of the pivots, but all of the throws?
Indeed. Cash in. Pops forward. Oh, and just bobbles out of the fingertips. See, it just checks. That's Carl Edwards on the far sideline, just checking the old ankle, an uncontested foul.
Yeah, saw the signal on the far sideline. Good hand signals by the players over there.
Yeah, Daniel Gwartz on the mark. Push through to Jamie from Grant. Pinned to the far side. Lots of poaching into the lanes from the defense of Tragic Hips.
Doing the sensible thing and finding those poach players and getting out of trouble.
This might actually be as perhaps almost zony at times, but Pletcher finding the gaps, threading it through the eye of the needle, and a huge layout grab from Jamie Cashin for the goal. And that's another for man down. They snuck a 3-point run there without us really talking about it, Benji.
Yeah, and that will take them into half, up 7-4. And not for the first time in this game, it's that far side of the end zone. Jamie Cashin going to work, going to ground to make those catches.
So no lengthy stoppages in these 45-minute games for half-time. The teams will sort of just trade ends, and we'll have man down coming out on defense after Tragic Hips got that early break off the paws of Patrick van der Valk.
It's almost, because they're going to be at the same ends, and it's almost like the half-time didn't happen. But it has, even if you haven't necessarily noticed it. Here's a replay of the score. Pletcher just rolling his wrists around it, and you can see their right hand underneath it. Just the left hand, which a lot on harder surfaces wouldn't necessarily advocate using your hands to break your fall, because I've seen players do that and end up with slightly wrecked wrists. But on the sand, you know, give yourself a cushioned landing.
Oh, absolutely. It's a very forgiving surface, which is, of course, why so many of these athletes are able to continue running around, not so mean on the old joints. Cashin, the retired high school French teacher who started playing Ultimate because it's just so fun.
I mean, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, not wrong. And she says that her hero, sporting hero, are all the Grandmasters and Great Grandmasters eligible folks still playing out there in the world. So that might mean you.
No, I'm not that old yet. Oh, I see what you mean, yes.
And if you're enjoying our coverage, please do consider becoming a patron. We'll give you all those links in a few moments. A little bit of a stumble in the stand even for Steve Lacrosse. Or Steve, as he's known. Throws a backhand around to make it. Good float. Guy being pinned, but squeaks it through. This is all at the sideline of Kietz. Oh, that is a lovely connection. Is that a honey pass, Benji?
It is indeed. June to make her into the end zone, continuing his hot scoring form. Lovely lead throw this. I feel like, especially on beach, throwing with touch is so important. You can't really afford to zip throws because so often it happens and the disc is gone, players do not get a chance to catch up on it. But if you can generate a little bit of backspin on the throw, really snap that wrist, it's just going to sit up there and make your receiver have a much easier time of it. On this far sideline, Guy thinks about that up line to June, decides to go with it. It's a turn, a little bit of separation vertically and laterally as well there for Maker, and the disc is rolled into his path. Wolf on the prowl again at 7-5.
Indeed, not an easy throw to execute by any means, but of course, yet another very experienced player is Krista June, who just didn't quite catch it on our stream, but she said hello to her kids on the sideline cam. And of course, got the whole family watching, including some grandparents. So Fur pops through. Noonan thinks about the big wind up, just a dish over the top, back to Fur. Now Matt Schaff. Noonan heading towards the end zone, gets himself the nice separation for the under. Doesn't like the look of the big shot into the open side, but does love the look of the big hammer over the top. Paul Shees collecting a goal and another one to add to Mandown's tally. They now lead 8-5.
He loves it, I love it, everyone at home loves it. More of that sort of thing, please. You can't beat a good overhead, and often, again with Beach, it's about throwing with that sort of touch and finesse. If you can just, again, get that little bit of backspin on it, don't have to make it quite so vertical. You see here, this one's flatter, and it does begin to helix a little bit at the end, but I think that's a sacrifice that you're probably willing to make in exchange for it not coming out so vertical that it comes down at a really tight angle.
I think, Benji, we're starting to see the difference a little bit between these two teams in terms of the number of legs they brought with them. Mandown have got the full 20-spot roster completely filled, whereas their opponents have just the 11. And it seems like on defense, Mandown are able to pin them that little bit extra.
Yeah, credit to Tragic Hips, though, because despite the numerical disadvantage, they're still hanging tough in this game.
Indeed, trailing 2 breaks, but doing it with competency and style. Steve Lacrosse is going to boom one deep, but they're in the deep space, just sneakily hiding in the sand is Travis Fraser.
Yeah, I heard someone on the pitch shout "Catch your D's," which is a statement that I think they know that we at ULTI.TV always thoroughly approve of. There's no real danger in this case because he's kind of sealed out the receiver there anyway. But had Fraser been able to reel that one in, I think he does try to catch it. In fairness, it means that they can get the offense going nice and quickly. Maybe take advantage of those extra legs.
Well, Cashin coming underneath. Looking around for options, streaking up the far sideline is her husband. Oh, and that's a lovely disc. It might be a bridge too far. He throws himself at it, but cannot pull it down. Philip Stewart misses that one. But a nice idea from Travis Fraser.
Really not far away. I love that Stewart's just he's committed to this. Doesn't matter whether he gets there or not. If you don't buy a ticket, he's never going to get a chance of bringing it in.
Absolutely, and he mentions his sporting hero is another, just lesser known athlete, Joe Montana.
Well, maybe lesser known on this side of the pond, certainly. In the States, arguably the greatest American football player of all time.
Oh, quite possibly, Benji. Well, we're both fans of the NFL, so we'd know, but Beach Ultimate, the name of the game currently in front of us. Steve Lacrosse looking around for options. Funny surname to have ended up playing Ultimate, I suppose.
Yeah, that is true. Nominative determinism feels like it hasn't quite worked there, has it?
There's got to be exceptions that make the rule after all.
Although, in fairness, I have never met anyone called Steve Ultimate. But if you are out there, please.
Well, there are some people that have sort of disc-related names, as we see. Unfortunately, Steve Lacrosse coming off with what looks like it might be a nosebleed or a bit of a bosh to the face.
Yeah, hopefully nothing too serious.
Indeed, he's been a core part of this offence for Tragic Hips. So we're going to take a brief timeout by the looks of it on the pitch.
Yeah, I guess must have called the timeout as he took the injury sub. So chance for us to get a breather in the booth as well, I think, Hannah.
Indeed. We'll see you on the other side of these messages.
Right now, he's going to have to bid.
just a
Football!
Huge layout block. Unbelievable stuff on the front corner of the end zone.
Maybe just that boost of energy they needed.
Huge swing pass and a great grab there from Spear. Second half action of pool play at the World Great Grandmasters Beach Ultimate Club Championships 2022, and we have a showdown between two American sides. Man down, currently up 8-5 over Tragic Hips. Who I'm now being informed might be Canadians rather than from the main part of the USA that we all
yeah,
see.
the list is Canadian on the official schedule, so obviously the information pull through has played havoc with us.
Well, c'est la vie. Sometimes we get these technical things that do occur as we see a pass from Makert to his wife, June.
Yeah, I had to lay out for the initial one, which not sure June will mind too much, because apparently Wolf looks pretty cute with sand on his face.
Well, he did start playing Ultimate as a condition of dating, well, he doesn't say it's the girlfriend that ended up being his wife, but certainly attracted to the sport by a beautiful female athlete, as we see a lovely run-through block off the paws of Jamie Cashin. Going all the way to the bank. Can she lay it? It's just about a half a metre too far in front, and immediately Krista June's going to pick it up and put it back in play. Coming back under, it's Van der Valk, who unfortunately drops it in the midfield. Cashin over the top, dishing, cannot hit Travis Fraser, who makes a valiant attempt to reel it in.
It's in a way a little bit comforting to see that it's not just at the younger levels where you kind of your energy and your eagerness to score sometimes gets the better of you. You see the shot to the end zone and you think, yeah, let's do it, let's take it on, where actually sometimes maybe there needs to be a little bit more judicious in your choice of shot. So that time Cashin unable to connect with the streaking receiver.
Oh, after a big fake from Patrick Van der Valk, he finds an easy one to make up. A little bit of pinning to this near sideline, perhaps. Oh, and that one just bobbles out of the lap of Krista June as she falls to the floor, trying to keep the disc alive. Cashin has his wife one-on-one at the back of the end zone. Just easy dishing, giving and going. Cut's trying to hit the break side. Now coming out and under. Stewart. Again, all these players sort of clustering around the disc, but he laces one through into the palms of Travis Fraser, and that asked a lot less of his teammate this time.
This is smart because they picked up and they were looking at the end zone, but everything was a little bit static there. I think players maybe just reticent to be, I'm gonna be the one who's initiating here. And actually, a lot of the time, if you don't see that, the right thing to do is exactly what Man Down did, and that's utilize the movement around the back. Just keep the disc constantly on the move. That one was in that tighter space. It can often be so difficult to complete those throws. But by swinging this across, you're changing the angle of attack. You're generating a what's the word? Like a trigger to move from. The disc swings. That's the signal that we need to start getting in motion down there as well. And then yeah, Stewart to Fraser for the score.
A long old point though. That one had 7 turnovers in total, which is the first we've seen of any turnovers in this second half, and the dirtiest point the whole game. Up until now, the D-lines have been pretty clinical. So a big pull immediately sinks towards Marianne Clark. Cats to make it. Big shot booming towards the end zone. The defense can do nothing but just flail underneath it. Feinstein tries to prevent the pass to Elliot De Silva, but that is a lovely, easy goal for Tragic Hips.
Sometimes it's really nice to get, the consistent movement, the flow down the field, and sometimes it's nice to just stand there, grip it, and rip it. And when you can judge it like that, Why not? It's one of those that it really tempts Feinstein underneath it. Looks like he's, to be honest, not that far away from it, but you can see him stand up there. He weighs it up a little bit, just sits it out there on the wind, curling past the agonising grasp of Joseph Feinstein and into De Silva's hands.
We've seen many a thrower come unstuck on this right to left wind, but it has dropped significantly since the early game slot this morning when it was blustery and made it so much more difficult to perfectly weight those downwind shots in towards the end zone. So becoming a bit of a nicer day perhaps later this afternoon. Initially, Benji, we had rain forecasts for Thursday and Friday this tournament, days 2 and 3, but now it seems like the thunderstorms might be rolling in for the weekend.
Fingers crossed, they continue getting pushed back till after we leave. We had the worst weather of the day during our well-placed lunch break.
Yeah.
So clearly, good scheduling decision made there.
Well, maybe some pagan-style tributes to the gods of Ultimate to keep the weather here fine as we see man down on offense, a low one from Noonan. Schaff back. The two Noonans working together at the back. Husband and wife. Sometimes it's not always the easiest to play with your partner on Frisbee teams, but of course these are all very mature players. Middlebrook, a toss over the top. Sheese pops back. Lovely flowing offense, but that's again not going to quite make it. Leon Noonan turning around, but just a sheer overthrow from Jim Middlebrook.
Yeah, it's tricky. He sees the option there, and it's not a bad look to go through, but it's just a little bit behind, and it means that not able to bring it in. You might see the kind of the nuclear logo on the hat. That's from Cal Poly SLO, San Luis Obispo. His alma mater. Slow core, I think they're called, the open side.
Although I think they just go by Cal Poly slow when they're talked about in Ultimate circles occasionally. I certainly have never heard slow core before, but I'm here for it. A hammer over the top into the falling arms of Mark Zika.
Lacrosse really pinned it on him there.
High stall, high release towards the end zone. There's an attempt to run it down, but that one's going to sail away in a bad sense.
Yeah, I think originally Zika wanted to get the reset back to Lacrosse in the centre, but yeah, Lacrosse lost his footing, and that really disrupts the timing and the rhythm of the reset.
Easily done on this sandy surface. It's powdery, but after that smattering of rain, it's a little bit gritty underfoot.
They're just taking a look to make sure the pink Euro disc is not too bent out of shape.
Indeed, Noonan. The man who says he's been playing forever. This is his great grandmasters after all, but it's just been 30 years playing.
Just the 30.
Just the 30, you know. As long as you've been alive, Benji. But fine. The wife now, Noonan. Those two, as they marshalling the offense from behind. Lefty backhand. Middlebrook. Noonan fakes the throw into the end zone. Oh, and it's a lovely shot. Again, the lefty backhand over the top shoulder of the mark and connecting.
I like the lefty backhands because, again, it's not necessarily the zippiest of throws. You tend to throw them with a little bit more touch and precision. I love that, by the way. Just the dish offload there from Sheese, continues that into the end zone because initially there's no one there, but gets this throw out nice and early, utilises the high release, getting a little bit of inside out shape on it to lead Sheese into the end zone. Brilliantly done. 10-6. Walks in front of the booth.
Well, stalking around this near sideline. Tragic hips trailing by a further break in this second half. Man down large and in charge, 10-6. I'm wondering, Benji, if we could figure out what's the closest scoreline we've had so far this championship.
At the tournament, I could absolutely find that out for you. I found that out for you. And it did come in a game involving one of these teams. It was Tragic Hips going down 13-8 to Jets of France this morning. So maybe another close loss for them this afternoon, unless they can find a way to overhaul this deficit.
Well, of course, power pulls is the next stage after these pools of 4 battle it out amongst each other. Fantastic to have such a full-bodied division here at the Great Grandmasters level. There's 16 teams in total, so there is still a chance to get yourself up to the championship bracket if you end up, for some reason, underseeded or overseeded perhaps. So, swing across to De Silva, launches it, a rocket into the end zone, and you see the arms go out. Great, sorry, not great, it's Wolfmaker there, of course. Very, very rapid, but it says, no, I'm not quite that fast, mate.
I mean, again, good look, because they get the one-on-one isolation deep, and Maker has a couple of steps. But we mentioned earlier that the teams, not just at this championship, but at EBUCC last weekend, have sometimes fallen a little foul where that wind just pushes it a little further and quicker than you're expecting, and it doesn't necessarily give your receivers the chance to catch up to it.
So an opportunity squandered for Tragic Hips as they stare down the barrel of this 4-point deficit. Cash in, like a gazelle leaping over the sand. Pops back. Bolden. Into Stewart. Little cock of the head saying he wants the up line. Loses himself a bit in the pivot, but has Cash in coming under.
I mean, you could hear himself pick himself up after that. I'm going to say extensive pivot.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit of overcommitment, but dug himself back out of the hole enough to make the reset. This is nice flow now. Cash in. Player sort of casually jogging in front. Cash in to Cash in. Oh, money in the bank all day long. The goal going into the open and waiting arms of Philip Stewart.
They're just looking like, again, late, especially this late in the game, that little bit of extra energy. There was the pivot from Stewart that he really had to kind of, he got up in stages from that, and I say that as someone who also gets up in stages when I'm that low to the ground, even at my young age. And then outside the end zone, just keeping it in flow, in rhythm, gets the separation, just get it out there, past tough mark, and Stewart makes the catch. 2 points away from victory here, man down at 11-6. The time cap comes on at 45 minutes, so we might get pretty close to that.
Which is good. We've seen some pretty large score deficits on this arena show field already, which haven't gone really anywhere near the time cap. So a great effort from Tragic Hips and their trusty band of warriors. They are indeed 9 roster spaces unfilled compared to their opponents.
Yeah, we're going to be staying in this pool, which is Pool D, for our next game as Jets take on Flash.
And presumably that is a little bit of Cash-In family shout-out. Giving some love from Jamie Cashin to the kids at home. Philip Stewart, who grabbed that goal, also has a roster of fans watching at home. So hello to Juliana, Sophia, Grace, Bentley and Gretchen. If you all happen to be the daughters of Philip Stewart, congratulations on having an excellent dad. But he doesn't say exactly who, so we might have some wives in there or something, I don't know.
Turnover downfield there. June just, again, trying to get a little bit creative to open up some space.
Indeed, maybe going for the handler-led rather than runner-led as the sand starts to sap at the energy in the legs. Masket finding a nice swing across. Oh, a lovely inside shot. Huge effort from Graham Katz to try and prevent that pass for Kevin Reardon.
Yeah, Reardon's always instantly recognisable by those luminous sand socks, which do a pretty good job of matching the disc.
Indeed. Masket now into the palms of Carolina Vargas with a miles-long ponytail. Adding almost an extra number to her shirt, and that's a great little rundown for the front corner and the goal. Ian Appleyard throwing himself all over the pitch in this game. That's his second layout score, I think. Yeah, Masket really gives he gives Appleyard a chance to make a big play, doesn't he? I'll put it that way. Puts this really far out in front. There's Vargas. Swinging into the centre. Continuation, it's that throw and go. Upline gets the place. Defender knows that he's not got a chance, and he gets a mouthful of sand, but he gets the disc as well, so I'm not sure that he'll mind. Indeed, you see his happy little smiley face there as he slaps the paws of his teammates. in Appleyard, starting in 1986 at Humboldt State University, the Humboldt Buds. And his first Worlds appearance is as a 4-year-old stud.
I must admit, I'm a little bit disappointed that the Humboldt State University team are not called the Penguins, but what can you do?
Tell him.
I will too.
I think you just have. And fans at home for Appleyard is his wife, Jenny Oger, Annalisa Appleyard, Ben Shear's son, and Sheila Appleyard, his mum.
Shout out to all those ultimate mums out there.
Absolutely, we love you and everything you do for this sport, keeping us all fed and watered usually, or just feeling like that little bit of support from back home. Unfortunately though, that one is going to go into the floor. Steve Lacrosse trying to connect with De Silva, who's been so reliable for the duration of this game, as man down, knocking on the door of the next point, and it's an easy one. Darcy Ellsworth Yao grabs her first stat of this game.
I feel like we haven't necessarily seen too much of Darcy Ellsworth Yao, but coming up when it counts with a goal to take the victory. Also, this is wonderful, by the way. The most useful pronunciation guide I think we've ever got, in that Yao rhymes with cow, because genuinely the OWs, they have caused problems on commentary booths in multiple occasions for us. Here's a replay of that final point, by the way, for finding Middlebrook. Again, rolls that one. I think he's maybe a little bit doesn't think that throw came off perfectly, but it came off well enough. And then nice timing that break side cut towards the far sideline, and Yao brings it in for the score and the victory.
Indeed. Highlight of her career coming and playing this Beach Ultimate Championships at this Worlds level. But I think that final point, Benji, really surmised the game. We had an unfortunate error from Tragic Hips. The energy started to sort of drain out of them a little bit in that second half. That huge 4-point on the bounce run from man down to finish this off. And after the error, they were just clean, clinical and saucy.
Yeah, it was tight going into half-time, and in the second half, yeah, I think just maybe the lack of legs and energy caught up with Tragic Hips a little bit there, but there's no shame in losing to a good team in man down. And yeah, for Tragic Hips, got to pick themselves up before their pool game against Flash tomorrow. Flash, who we are streaming up next, by the way, against Jets. And yeah, maybe take a little bit of momentum going into the power pools.
Indeed, well, just shy of 45 minutes until that next game slot that starts local time 5 p.m. But as we perhaps get some highlights from that game, we're going to take a little bit of break and refreshment. We advise you do so. Set your clocks for 5 p.m. Central European time. Sorry, I take that back. GMT, because we're on the same time zone as we are at home, Benji. But
so that's BST, right? We're not on GMT yet. Clocks haven't changed.
Ah, of course, there we go. Benji Rees with all of the knowledge for you all of the time. But for him, myself, Hannah Pendlebury, and for all of our ULTI.TV crew, we will see you for the next game on the other side.
right now. He's gonna have to bid. Just a
Football! Huge layout block. Unbelievable stuff on the front corner of the end zone.
Maybe just that boost of energy they needed.
Big pass and a great grab there from Steer.
The ultimate things in life are free, and we're keeping it that way. Subscribe to keep up with the latest games, tournaments, and community content. Share it with your team and friends, and drop a like to help spread Ultimate to more people. Spread the word, spread the love. ULTI.TV.
We believe mixed is the best for the sport, for the world. That's why we're making a global showcase, starting in Europe, made in Amsterdam. ULTI.TV. ULTI.net.
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Don't want to miss anything?
There are loads of tournaments happening, which you can attend either as a player or a spectator. You can find them on ULTICAL, link in the description.
ULTI.TV, BUCC lyrical.
Merci beaucoup.
ULTI.TV.
I'm at regional.